3, 2, 1, go. Welcome to Grounds After Rounds.
Welcome.
To
Grounds After Rounds. I almost got us a coffee. Like I was in CVS. I was like, oh, this whatever this brand is looks good. I was like, and I almost got us one to split.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It probably tastes like crap. It's overpriced in CVS. And do we really need the caffeine kick at 2:00 in the afternoon?
I always forget it is 2:00 now because we used to do it at 10:30, which we will be returning it
back
to.
In which case, it'll make more sense.
It will be
overpriced bag coffee.
I appreciate it. So I have started using. So I was in Whole Foods. I spoiled myself. I got the Laird Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
So good.
The creamer?
Yeah. It's coconut milk and I think a little bit of almond milk. Yeah, it's dairy free, gluten free, blah 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 free. It's not awesome free.
There's no dairy, there's no sugar, there's no carbs, no good. Throw it
out. But it's really good and it's enough of a fat bomb in the morning because what I've started doing too is I add a little bit of butter, blend it up, and it seriously is like a cappuccino. Yeah. And I chug it all before I leave the house so I don't have. I'm trying not to have anything in my hands.
How much fat's in a serving, you know?
So it's 1 tablespoon and it's 15 calories. And I think it's 2 grams maybe, or like 1.5 grams of fat. And that's it. Like there's no sugar, there's no carbs.
I didn't tell you, I started Stronger You again.
Oh, good.
So it's great. He's actually a coach at a gym in Bermuda.
Wow.
So when he was asking about the snow, I was like, don't act like you care.
Yeah.
But
shut up.
But it's like, for me, it's 70 grams of fat a day.
Okay.
And like,
that's tight.
It's tight. So that's what I was like, so I've gotten like just a, but the carbs is like
way
275.
Right. Because you're on a cut.
Right.
Not
like
a cut, but
yeah. So then it's like 190 protein, 275 carbs, and 70
right now
on my active
if
days.
Shelly is listening or Nicole is listening or anybody else
who knows, so much.
They just went, how many carbs was that?
275.
70 fat. That's 2 days of mine. Right? Like
And so I'm not like
I'm 6'2".
It's all relative. But I'm like, so if I'm looking like we have a coffee creamer at home. Oh no, Meg made this coffee creamer. Same thing. I was like, it was out of coconut milk. I was like, oh great. It was out of like canned coconut milk, and I was like, oh, 1 serving is like 15 grams of fat. I'll pass.
Thanks. No, I'm good.
Thanks.
I don't always go to Whole Foods. Right. So that they don't have Laird Hamilton's at Giant, but they have this Better Half. And so I look at it's almost the exact same thing.
Is that what's called Better Half?
Better Half.
Okay.
But it's made by, do you remember the Khalifa or whatever? I think it's the same company. Okay. But it's a creamer and it's got a little bit of that taste. Can you remember how bad that was?
Oh, it's got the spirulina or whatever that.
There's no sweetener in it.
Okay.
I got to look at it
like
again.
An aftertaste or something.
A little bit, but it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad at all. And so I've started using that in the mornings I do the either just a regular Nespresso pod and I double tap it, or I do the espresso, double tap it, and then I use a little bit extra creamer, and then I just shoot that whole thing down, and it's like, yes, let's go, boys.
That's how I need to do coffee. I nursed it for way too long. I think I've cut back on coffee significantly.
Yeah.
Because I drink more water, drink less coffee, clear head.
Yeah.
Clear eyes, fuller heart, can't lose. And
well played.
And I think there was one day I had coffee one day last week, and it was just like, it was one of those nights where it's like everyone was awake. And Fiona loves that game where it's like, if she's awake, everyone has to be awake. Doesn't matter if it's 2:15 in the morning.
She knows that's not a game, right?
Yeah. Oh, we try. And so I was like, Meg, I'm making coffee today. And I was like, why is this like, I've cut back on coffee. Why is this not working? She goes, because it takes you 6 hours to drink a single coffee. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I just need to so I need to do the Jackman. Just
yeah.
Like that.
And it's exactly. It's like the Italian espresso where they shoot it real fast.
Doppio. There was two shots, but then you put a little whipped cream on top and some raw sugar.
Oh,
Doppio with
Barista is coming out.
What's that called? It was a Doppio con panna, I think was what it was called.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Look at you.
Anyway.
So Better Half.
And
it's only 1.5 grams of fat per serving, which is a tablespoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually do 2. I've stopped measuring because I'm not counting my macros. But it is, and I mix that. So not all the time, but sometimes I mix it with a half a tablespoon of butter and blend that all together. And that's enough to kind of get me back home at like 9:30, and then I eat my breakfast.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's enough to like keep you feel satiated and give you the pep you need without feeling heavy, sluggish, and gassy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if I eat,
do you get coffee poops?
No.
Okay.
But if you eat in the morning before I coach, I'm even more hungry by mid-morning, and that's usually I'll do that on like recovery days. So like Thursdays if I'm not working out, or I'm trying to figure out too what the schedule is going to be like for the Open, because as I've said, my plan is to do them Thursday night at the release with the boys.
Yeah.
Then take Fridays just kind of like an active recovery day. Do them again on Saturday now, and like go for it again. Then do the equipment free version, or scaled or the scaled version on Mondays during class.
I'm tempted to try the equipment free version in my living room the nights they're announced.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
I'm tempted to give that a
so
go.
I'm not sure. You're a very fit person. You move well. I'm not sure those equipment free ones are going to be that easy.
That's why I said maybe. Because like I was looking at the one they
like
put,
pistols.
they said, pistols.
For the 155 or 165 5-minute AMRAP.
Is that what it was?
It was a shoulder, ground to shoulder, shoulder to overhead.
Yeah.
But with a squat. So squat, clean, and jerks.
Yeah.
That's what
like I'll give it the old
pistols and handstand. It was pistols and handstand push-ups.
Oh, well, I could try. No, I can't even kick up to a wall. I could kick up to a wall, but if I fall down, I'm waking up kids.
Which I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the
because the bodyweight version is by no stretch a scaled version.
No,
it's just a
bodyweight
version.
only.
And you think of all the things we do bodyweight wise.
Yeah,
that are high skill gymnastics.
It's gonna be really hard.
So that's based on what the workout is. Because like the first one that came out was it was when they did the one I wrote up on the board that one day.
Yeah,
it was like chair dips instead of muscle ups. I think it was air squats, and I forget what the other movement was instead of muscle ups. I don't remember.
Why I'm doing it is I'm intrigued to see, and I may mix that up. I may go RX on Thursdays, scaled on Saturdays, or maybe even RX Thursday nights, scaled during the class on Fridays, take a rest day Saturday and Sunday, or mix and match.
You said RX
and then
Thursday,
try
scaled in class on Friday.
I'm testing out because I don't care if I think I can make the top 10, not easily. It's going to hurt. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be hard.
But you've done everything you can to this point.
Right. And I've done it. And I'm not training for the Open. I'm not training for competition this year.
Yeah.
I'm training for GPP and to stay fit, but I'm feeling very good. And I've been kind of looking at performance based on years past. In years past, I've always been in like the 97 to 98th percentile. In my worst years. The best I was at like when I was 204, 4 away from the top 200.
You miss that t-shirt, don't you? That t-shirt you would wear everywhere, right?
My comp train t-shirt that I would, Oh, Andy, thank you very much for putting it in perspective for me.
Thor's hammer.
But and actually this come out. This will come out before I see him on Saturday, so I'm not going to tell you. But I'll tell you after. If you were a Patreon, which we aren't on, but
we're Patreon off.
You could know, and Eric and I will tell you what the secret is. But anyway, I think this year. Oh my God, I'll get there. I want to see if the stimulus from the RX to the scaled to the body weight only is similar. That's my goal.
This is your nerding out.
Yeah, to test and see like, so I think of the Diane heavy deadlift handstand walk one. The stimulus of that one to the scaled one was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Where actually the scaled one fried my hamstrings even more because I was able to go so fast through Diane, quote unquote, and so fast through the quote heavy deadlifts and those bear crawls. I almost threw up, and I still didn't beat Annie Thorstadter's time.
Doing RX.
I was doing the weight. So the men's scaled weight was the women's RX weight.
Yeah.
She was faster with the same weight and handstand walks than I was with bear crawls.
Yeah.
Oh, and hand release push-ups.
Hand release push-ups. Yep.
Yeah, that's how fit those athletes at the top are. So anyway, that's my goal is with the Open. But you wanted to talk about the Open in some way, right?
Well, I think it's great that we're talking about these different movements, because there are, in the CrossFit Open, there are standards of movement.
Mhm.
And so one thing we were talking about pre-show, which again, if you're Patreon, is a squat in the Open is get your butt below your knees and stand all the way up at the top.
Full hip
locked out.
extension to below parallel, hip crease
There's your
below
CrossFit words,
parallel to full hip extension.
Full hip extension.
That is the movement standard.
That's it. That's the movement standard in that. Jack, what is this standard from the CrossFit level 1, level 2?
What are my pops?
What are your pops?
As Ackerman like to throw out. If you don't know what pops mean, then that's my best Ackerman. Points of performance for the 9 fundamental movements. So the 9 fundamental movements: squat, front squat, overhead squat, press, push jerk, sumo deadlift high pull, med ball squat clean, and deadlift.
Boom.
So squat, push, pull.
Pull.
They in the level manual each have a series of points of performance that anywhere between 4 to 6, depending on the movement.
46.
That's a lot of points of performance to teach. About 4 to 6 points of performance for each of those movements, and they build on each other. So the squat builds onto the front squat, builds onto the overhead squat. The press builds onto the push press, builds on a push jerk, and the deadlift builds onto the sumo deadlift high pull, builds onto the med ball squat clean. Which the med ball squat clean is like basically a deadlift, a front squat. You don't take it overhead, but like it has all of them in there.
Yeah.
A squat would be weight in the heels, knees tracking over toes, full range of motion, upright torso.
Full range of motion being those same.
Full range of motion that we said
things we talked about
before. Maintaining a neutral spine and lumbar curve. And so those are the 5 that I think I got that right.
Yeah. Heels, knees, range of motion, lumbar curve,
neutral spine.
Yeah.
Because what that facilitates is sound movement about the major joints and the body, the athlete's body, staying in the correct planes, frontal and sagittal planes. And so that action, as described by those points of performance, are coachable with standard cues that when they are violated, they have kind of normal 3 to 4 violations that I can then cue and have kind of a standard general response for each athlete. So like if somebody is forward on their toes, what that tells me is they've probably either lost their weight staying about the frontal plane. Yeah. So basically, like if you cut a human body in half from the side,
we dexter it,
and their head and torso goes forward. Now their weight is forward about the frontal plane, and as they descend, they're going to come onto their toes.
Right.
And I can see that because the weight is no longer in their heels. That's why that's a point of performance. That's going to be a very quad dominant squat rather than a posterior chain dominant squat. And so I can cue it as chest up, rock back onto your heels, pull your, how do I do that? That was bad cue.
What's your tactile cue?
I would stand in front of them, most likely, or have them pull their hands out in front and put my hands underneath their hands. And as they descend, say, don't hit your hands. Don't let your hands hit my hands. Because now that makes them pull their chest up. What's yours?
I'll say, and for our visual audience, show me your visual, or for our listening audience, show me your visual cue. Oh, wow. That was amazing.
Thank you. Well, it would be, so a visual would be, and that's the great part about the level 2 is this is the whole, so level 2, six coaching skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not right. I forget the term. But there are 6 things that a
what is
coach develops within.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I just lost.
Right. You just
Teaching a movement, seeing movement, correcting faults in the movement, group management, presence and attitude, and demonstration.
Okay.
You will notice programming is nowhere in that. And I always forget about that. I always think it's programming, group management, presence and attitude, but it's demonstration. And so as an athlete or as a coach, you need to always be striving for better movement as an athlete. And that comes back to the points of performance, and it comes back to being able to see and correct your own movement. And so they always recommend, like, you need to film yourself demoing and seeing, like, holy crap, there's my butt wink. Oh my God, I don't get depth. Oh my God, look at my overhead position.
It's monkey see, monkey do.
Yep. And no matter how many times you say something correctly, if you are demoing it wrong, they're going to do it wrong. So those points of performance in the coaching context, the level 1 focuses on the teach, see, correct, because that's really where the bang for the buck is. You could have somebody who has a lot of experience in another career. Shelly is a perfect example. She was a fourth grade art teacher, or just 4th grade teacher. Sorry, Shelly. But I'm almost positive it was 4th grade art. Presence and attitude, spot right, came full up round. Yeah. Group management. Oh yeah, she can manage a group like nobody's business. Demonstration, pretty darn good, right? Like her movement's sound, and it's.
I think all of us. She has her limitations,
exactly.
but
like
she
we
knows,
all are right. But
she
good
has
enough.
The awareness, yeah.
The teaching, seeing, and correcting side of that equation as a CrossFit coach, that was where it was like, oh, okay. And the internship program that we went through, that was an awesome opportunity for her to see it. And then going to level 2, that was an awesome, like, that's the professionalization.
Yeah, like she got that time under tension now. She went to the internship. She's been coaching for a couple of years. Now she gets to see it, do it. Coach,
I say that, I say that as somebody who, like, group management, dude, I've run units at 150, 200 people, right? Like, you can hear it in my voice sometimes, right? The presence and attitude, maybe a little too prickly for some. I think I've softened, right? As the hair has grown, I've softened the edges a little bit, right? A little bit nicer. I've actually, like, 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks, I've been commented on how, like, wow, it's really nice how supportive you are of us when we're doing stuff. And I'm like, oh God, if you had any idea 5 years ago.
If you were in the garage.
And I think, again, videoing myself over the years.
Which, in all fairness, like, can we just backtrack real quick to that comment? Yeah. Like, maybe some people thought that, but, like, you were one of the first coaches I ever had at CrossFit Old Bay. Represent, OG.
Doesn't exist anymore.
It does not exist anymore. That's a collector's
item.
Right? Who wants it? $5 million. $2,800. Like a sweater.
Like a sweater.
And then, but I mean, no, like, I never felt that way about you.
I appreciate that.
And I mean, if I thought that way, it would have, I don't know if this would be happening. But like,
but there's something too, right? Like,
I
get out of my own way. I think I get out of my own way better about, like, not getting wrapped up as much about the timing. But really what that's, and again, like, people ask that at the level 2. And I know we've kind of gone off topic here. We'll come back. But, right, if I always have this one athlete who doesn't want to do what I'm doing, right, I keep telling them the same cue and they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
The response by the instructors at level 2 is really great. They're like, well, I mean, that might be, you might have somebody who just doesn't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
Or you could examine the cue that you're offering them, and maybe you're not cueing them at the right time, correctly, to get the point of performance that you want out of it, right? Like, how much time have you done actually examining, like, well, what am I telling this person to do? Does that make sense? Have I told them a body part, what to do with that body part, and what it's going to feel like when that body part is doing what it's supposed to do, right? If I look at somebody, we'll come back to the point of performance, their heels are up, they're forward on their toes, and their torso is leaning far forward. And I say to them, I said, hey man, your weight's way forward in your feet. Get your heels down. How do you do that?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Right? But if I say, hey, I want you to pull your toes up and arch your back, right? There you go. And they still don't get it. And be like, okay, well, that still doesn't matter. Okay, come over. And now I can be like, here, hold on. Take your hands, put them out in front of you, pull them up to the sky, block out the sun, look at the back of your hands. Don't touch my hands with your hands. Now all of a sudden their back is arched. They've had a rock, but now rock on. Yep. wiggle your toes, and now all of a sudden fight for it. Yeah, and now all of a sudden they're not getting depth, but now it's okay, now deeper. Nope, knees out, right? Like,
of course, in their mind, it's like, well, why would I want to do it that way? Because that was so much harder.
And so now all of a sudden, this recalcitrant athlete isn't recalcitrant. They just didn't understand what you were saying because you weren't, as a coach, telling them a cue that actually modeled the point of performance that you wanted to see.
Right.
That's coaching. And those are the three on the side of the coaching focus for the level 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes the difference between good coaching and ineffective coaching, or I would say effective coaching and ineffective coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can talk about like highly effective coaching and just pretty good coaching. You know what I mean? And so that's the pursuit of that excellence over and over and over again. And that this level 2 reminded me of like, oh yeah, just go back to the basics and just do them better and better and better. So
I was just listening last night to the Best Hour with, it was Ackerman and Pat Barber. Like, it was like 2019.
Oh wow.
And they said, they said like, there's a very fine line between a new coach and a great coach. And like, so a lot of that is your presence and attitude and the way you connect with your athletes and the information that you give them. And so like, there's like, you can study the level 2 and you can study the performance and all that stuff. And you can have that stuff down pat. It's like, if you know that stuff, great. But then there's this other half of it, the presence, the attitude and
group management,
all that stuff. And so there's that fine line between, you know, new coach or good coach and great coach.
Can you apply it to the athlete who's standing in front of you?
Exactly.
And then can you apply it to the 6 athletes who's standing in front of you? And then can you apply it to the 12 athletes? Right. And that's why it's like, oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I could see how this is. And if you're actually coaching to the points of performance, that's when you take somebody and they feel the difference between okay movement and really mechanically sound movement, because that's movement that they can do for the rest of their life, even at intensity.
Yeah. And 100%. And that's where now coming back to the
to
open, money. We're like this.
I know.
So whereas the squat had in the level 1 has these 5 points of performance.
Right.
And then in the open had these two
basically
standards.
Stand up, get down, stand up.
Yeah.
Right. Like
that's sit down, stand up. Like
yes. There you go.
Basically sit down, stand up. And that's basically all there is to it.
Right.
And so one thing gets you higher up on the scoreboard in this moment, and this one is creating longevity.
I wish we could create a graphic, right? So here's the deal.
Allie, if you're listening.
CrossFit's one of the foundational tenets of CrossFit is mechanics done well, consistently yields the best and most efficacious intensity. And only once the mechanics are done consistently well do you layer on intensity. Right. And that inherently is how CrossFit is an infinitely safe program. It's when we try to tack on intensity, load, volume, higher end skill prior to the mechanics being able to be done consistently well, that we introduce the risk of injury and the unsafe movement patterns and unsafe results that CrossFit has or that vampire myth of CrossFit being unsafe.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, anybody who's a runner, the second they walk into the door, you could look at them and be like, what's injured right now? Oh, my ankle, my knee, my back, my sciatic, my Achilles, my shoulder, blah, blah. I'm like, you're a runner. How's your shoulder injured? Right. Like, because running is unsafe. No, it's not. We're designed to be able to run.
I like to say it's unsafe. That's but no, you're right. Like humans
running poorly. And most runners probably don't run mechanically well.
No.
Right. They just put on some shoes
and go and
ran.
Yeah.
Right. And so why then, when CrossFit has a less than 10% across the industry, a less than 10%, and that's not a real number. That's a very swagged kind of like, anecdotal
give
about
or take,
right.
Yeah.
CrossFit has a less than 10% injury rate. How is it dangerous? It's safer. It's safer than cooking dinner in your kitchen. Right? Like that to me, but it's that one study that came out of Ohio State that they found on and they sued and they won and,
but it's still out there. It's still out
exactly.
there and people latch onto it.
And so that's the difference. And now I would say, coming back to your original question, it's because we took something that people think you should be able to come to the gym, get on a treadmill, pick up a dumbbell, and it's not dangerous. It's not really that hard. It's not really that intense, right? And I get results. You're never going to get results. CrossFit took
You'll get
things,
test results from your doctor.
CrossFit took things that were sort of standard gym movements and created a sport out of it, because now all of a sudden I could observe, measure, and repeat the performance. And Glassman equated that work capacity to your fitness. And so I could say he or she who did the most work was the fittest and is the winner of the world's fittest man or woman
The exercise competition,
right?
yeah.
And it's not just exercising for time like that.
Right.
If you ever listen to Dave Castro, that like pisses.
Oh yeah.
And actually, he was on a really good interview with a couple of the athletes, and he actually said, it doesn't piss me off. He said, it irritates me when I hear professional CrossFit athletes say that. It demeans what they've accomplished.
Right.
And I was, and he because he said it without like an anger or like, but it was a frustration of like, you guys are selling yourselves short. You are not professional exercisers.
Yeah.
These aren't workouts at the CrossFit Games. They are events.
Mhm.
Workouts are what we do in the gym
To train.
because you have a coach who's looking at your movement, who's critiquing you, who's coaching you, cueing you, and you are striving to get better at the expense of performance.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like performance doesn't matter in a workout. I don't care. Go lighter. I don't care. Change the movement. I don't care. Like we're moving to move better because we're training for general physical preparedness and wellness and health.
Right.
The games is a totally different animal. There ain't no wellness and health happening there. It is performance in a competition professional setting. They are getting paid to win.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this weird gray area then. All right, here's us, non-professional athletes, being asked and invited to join this worldwide competition called the Open, where the same athletes who I just said sacrifice a little bit of health and wellness for their performance. Wait a second, what am I supposed to do then? Like, what, coach, cue me, tell me, what am I supposed to do?
Go
like,
faster. That's
right? Oh, darn it. So that's the weird part.
Yeah.
It's well, you got to play it by ear. Like at the end of the day, if doing this event now, this 21.1 Open event is going to cause an athlete to not be able to bend over or exasperate an existing injury or something, well, then my answer is going to be like, no, because you paid $20 to do it, right? Like, are you kidding me? It'd be like signing up for a 5K and twisting your ankle 3 days before and be like, I'm still going to run it. I mean, dude, you run a 9-minute mile. Like, you're never going to win like, who cares? Just let's go get beers and hang out. Like, I don't. So that would be my answer to the person who maybe loses sight of why they're doing the Open. Mm-hmm. But it's worth recognizing that in the Open, we are going to be blurring the lines there a little bit of, you said it in the pre-conversation, we don't no rep you in a class. There are no reps in the class. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Even though the SugarWOD app creates this leaderboard that we all kind of like, ooh, how did so-and-so do?
Right.
How did so-and-so do is more of a comparison between athletes to know like, well, I know that Brian Meyer runs so fast. I know that Luis can do his squats this fast. And I know, and so I see what they get. And I'm like, okay, I should be able to, based on knowing where we have our strengths and weaknesses and shared, it's a framework or a context for me to know how hard or how slow should I go, right? Like, or fast should I go? Right. It's not leaderboarding. It's not a competition. Mm-hmm. The Open is a competition. And so there's room to kind of be like, all right, dude, like take the training wheels off. Like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. Mechanics done consistently well is always a better foundation upon which to layer higher and higher levels of intensity. And so the athletes at the games that you see moving like shit don't stay there very long. Mm-hmm. They are spending their athletic potential and they're cashing in on that just innate, sick, insanely freakish talent. But at some point they will plateau and they won't make it any further.
And I think you can even with them as well. Like it's the they have trained moving well at high intensity so much that if things start to falter a little bit, they've got the systems already put in place
to be safe, right? They've got a reservoir.
Like, and like you said, it's a sacrificing form for points.
But I just mean
like,
watching overhead squats is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, a game in 2014, maybe, Naughty Nancy, which was heavier overhead squats, slightly longer run. Watching Khalipa's overhead squat versus Josh Bridges' overhead squat, Josh Bridges won that event. He had no business winning that event. Yeah. He weighs like 60 pounds less than somebody like Khalipa. And Khalipa had been training his running, right? So there's no reason, and I don't know if Bridges won it, but I'm pretty sure he did.
He was up there.
But his overhead position is amazing.
Yeah.
He has no business snatching as much as he can snatch with how small he is. He is 2 inches shorter than me. He says he's 5'5". Pretty sure he's only 5'4". I say I'm 5'7". I'm only 5'6", right? So the two of us, let's say I'm 5'7", he's 5'5", right? So, but he is an inch and a half, 2 inches shorter than me.
And I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah. And he weighs now, I was just listening on the podcast. He said like he's at like 170 or whatever. So I think he's competed before at like 160, 165. He's like, he should not be able to snatch 265, 275 or whatever he did at that one regionals. That was insane. Yeah. Right? Like that is now if he was Olympic weightlifters at that weight class do snatch that much. They're in the 300, 350, but that's all they do. He can also do all that other stuff.
Yeah.
His position is amazing. His movement is amazing. Like he moves really, really well, which is why when he gets that one year he got all those penalties on his movement standards.
He was fired up.
Yeah, because he doesn't cheat movement.
Yeah.
Somebody like Khalipa, who also moves really, really well now, but at that time was still struggling with it. He just muscled through it.
He was, yeah.
And by the time they hit that
movement.
fourth and fifth round, he couldn't keep it up.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would say the foundational constructs that we learn here in our general physical preparedness training, mechanics consistently done well will always be a better foundation upon which to layer intensity. You see that manifest at the games by these higher end athletes. And that's right. Like that's the payoff.
And we will say to an extent as well, like in the gym when you're doing it, we are doing it in a class. So there's a coach there. So if we really start to see stuff falter at the expense of you getting extra points, we will step in and be like, let's take a breath. Okay.
Right.
Whereas like the judge at the games is not saying,
they're not coaching you.
Hey, hold it. Hey, you're rounding your back a little bit. Let's go ahead and.
They are only looking for movement standard. Are you meeting the range of motion? Are you meeting the designed or the designated standard of movement? And if so, that rep counts.
Like if you watch those heavy squats during the games last year on the ranch and all the videos that came out, be like, I can't believe people like how poorly they move. I was like, they were maxing out.
Yeah. Or the front squats on round stage one, right? Yeah. Sam Briggs' front squat. But again, like she knows what her body can handle and she's going for the game.
And I would love to, and any of those people, let me see a video of your personal best and show me where you're
right. And I don't put much stock in the social media or the behind what are the keyboard warriors. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. But then there is also, in that same vein, an athlete who is a professional at their trade making a choice to sacrifice a little bit of movement for the sake of performance. 2019, second cut. It's the 800-meter row, 66 kettlebell, double kettlebell push press, and then the 132-foot handstand
It was push press particularly too. It wasn't shoulder to overhead.
It was correct. It was specifically push press, which is a movement very much is going to have room for better movement, right? Hip opening fully prior to press, full lockout, weight center line over the body.
The quarter extremity, the timing is important.
And the movement standard was full lockout, elbow, shoulder, hip, knee before returning the weight to the shoulder. And the hip must pass through a dip, and there is no re-dip in the hip. Extremely hard to judge. So after the event was over, there were two interviews by Chandler Smith and Matt Frazier. So Chandler Smith's comes off the 800, probably first or second, I don't remember exactly, but way ahead of everybody else, gets to his kettlebells, and he's moving beautifully, right? Like he's got some movement he's awesome at. His his cleans are do the online from the 2020, listening to Coach B. Actually, it might have been the Rogue Invitational.
The Rogue Invitational.
The Rogue Invitational. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah. It's like, get that boy to California. I'll work with him for 1 weekend. I'll get him under that bar. It was awesome.
Muscle.
Yeah. But God, he's so strong.
Yeah.
So his push presses were beautiful. So smooth.
Yeah.
But a little slow. And I say slow, like relative to Fraser's about 30 seconds, 40 seconds behind him, gets to his kettlebell, starts doing push presses, and they are just like rockets. And he's like every 6th or 7th rep, no, back out, no rep. So after across 66, he probably did 80, 90 reps, but he's just moving. Chandler Smith maybe got 1, 2 no reps at most. And on a push press, that's awesome. That's great. But it took him, Fraser finished almost 30 to 40 seconds before Smith takes the lead, handstand walks, boom, wins the event. Afterwards, Chandler Smith says, I was really wanting to make sure I didn't want to do any extra work. I didn't want to, so I slowed it down. That might have been a mistake.
Yeah.
Fraser said, I know push presses are really taxing, but what makes them taxing is when you try to go too slow and make the movement perfect. I know I could handle about 100 unbroken. So I decided to just go full send and let what happens happens. Exactly. But I knew that I could I knew I could get them done faster with a little bit of slop.
Yeah.
And that was a better move for me.
Seeing they too come back to time under tension. Like he did less reps, but they both kept those kettlebells on their shoulders, and like
Fraser was under that tension for almost 2 minutes, a minute and a half less than Chandler Smith saw it in the handstand walk.
Yeah.
That is where an athlete knowing where to push the boundaries. Now, all said and done, Fraser's reps still looked absolutely amazing. Like any gym in the world, no coaches, no repping him.
I'm probably sitting there watching like,
wow,
what? That was a note.
That looked good.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't see right? And that's why every single one of those
conspiracy.
Yeah, that's why every single one of those judges on that floor is seminar staff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they're like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of where performance is not always perfectly sound movement. What we do in the gym is not for performance.
Yeah.
We record not for leaderboarding, but to observe, measure, and repeat. So I think two nerding outs ago or before, so that when you ask me, and today's was a little bit, am I getting better? Is this working? Well, I don't know, because we haven't recorded anything and I have no idea what you lift and you don't know what you lift. So yeah, it's like when there's no delta or change in anything, we never understand or relate to the passage of time. Like there has to be change, and we have to know what that change is. And we only know what that change is if I observe where I start and measure it, and I observe where I am and I measure it, then I can measure change. Very and I can tell you whether it's better or worse.
Fitter or not fitter.
Exactly. And so that's a really cool topic. And I like that. The points of performance are critical, because that's how you define whether something, your movement per the CrossFit standard and level 1 manual in the training, that's how we can have a conversation with an athlete that yields from what I'm seeing, can correct them into more fundamentally physiologically sound movement, upon which then we can build intensity.
Yeah.
Performance and competition may make some concessions to those points of performance for the sake of competition.
Yep.
There you go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what so can I ask you one side note?
Sure.
Outside of the open, let's say a benchmark, for example, is there a moment when would you say I can play with that line a little bit more? And maybe I just answered my own question. Is the benchmark that thing where or is it really is sacrificing your form for that performance to get that faster time, to show that delta, really worth the sacrifice?
No.
In the end of the day?
I think initially, yes, because there's a psychosocial emotional power in getting a PR, right? That it's the glue that kind of keeps you sticking with it to get that consistency.
Yeah.
But after you've done a benchmark 2 or 3 times, it really, at that point, like it doesn't matter. And if you're always sacrificing the mechanics to get the next PR, you're going to plateau.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to ask yourself, what's your end game here? Like how long do you want to be able to do this?
Right.
Low horizon, long trajectory, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where I would say, you know what, let's take a step back. Like you've got 3 or 4 graces in the book. You've kind of, you started your first one and it was like 7 minutes, and the last like 7 clean and jerks, you were failing like every other jerk, right? Well done. You did 135. You RX'd it. Well done, buddy.
Yeah.
Like good job.
Confetti on sugar.
Yeah. Let's do it. Which, by the way, somebody noticed that you changed. You did it
I
a
didn't
while
notice.
ago.
No, sometimes it's anchors.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's confetti, and I don't know why.
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I did that or not. I may have.
I feel like you did,
but
a while back.
Yeah. So sometimes people get confetti and some people get anchors.
Huh. That's so strange.
So I don't know.
Anyway, so I would say, let's take this fictional athlete. They got like a 7-minute first grace. Grace, 30 clean and jerks, 4 time, 135 for guys, 95 for women. 6 months later, we do grace, and they get like a 4.5 minute grace, and they don't fill any reps. They just kind of petered out. I would probably, and their movement still is a little shaky, right? It's kind of like, like,
right.
I would probably let them do it one more time.
Okay.
Right. As they get close to that sub-4, 3-minute time frame, I would say, okay, cool. Because they're probably doing fast singles. You know what I mean? Like, but at some point I'm going to have a conversation with that athlete and I'm saying, you know what? You're never going to get below 3 minutes on this if we don't take this weight down to like 65 pounds. And I want you to do 3 sets of 10 as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what your score is. We're still going to log it, but you need to look at grace no longer as grace, but as 30 unbroken clean and jerks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never going to get 135 pounds, 30 times unbroken if we don't start at 55 pounds or even the bar and see what that feels like. And then next time we tack a little bit on there, and next time we tack a little bit on there, because if you go back and you read The Girls and then The Girls V2 from the CrossFit Journal, you don't train to benchmarks.
Right.
Benchmarks are a test of your general physical preparedness. Right. And so if you're doing CrossFit correctly, constantly varied, high intensity, functional movements done at high intensity, then inevitably your benchmark scores will continue to get better and better. When they don't, then you can look at it and be like, okay, why? What's happening? What 10 general physical skills have I now identified as a weakness? What injuries am I dealing with? How are my mechanics falling apart? Is my nutrition on point, right? Like there's the other things we can look at. Or am I not doing variance? Is my program not sound?
Right.
But chasing the benchmark for the sake of the benchmark misses the forest for the trees.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I'm that fictional athlete, by the way. Like that's like that's where I'm at with something like race. Like I can do it. I think at 201 or maybe I went 159. I can't remember, but I can now do it fast singles, and I'm gonna cap out right at about 2 minutes because that's 3 seconds. 4 seconds a rep. To get any faster, I now need to start doing like 4s and 5s, touch and goes. I can't do that many consistently at 135 pounds yet. So if I'm training for something like race, I need to train with lighter weight and cycle the barbell. And we have been like this program. I'd be very curious for a benchmark like race to see what would come out. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a benchmark in this open.
Yeah. You said you'll throw out a few this month, so we'll see.
Oh, we got Randy this week.
Randy's this week.
And then all the rest of the programming's out. So I just got to.
Is the month out?
Yeah, I haven't done next week yet because it wasn't. Because the 12th is the release. So yeah,
it's kind of playing out.
It's gonna be messy. So
open always is, but
nobody will notice. It's messy for us on the back end because like when that open release gets going on Thursday, the scramble to set up Friday, it's like whatever, and then you gotta I gotta change Saturday because if we double dip on this one, and I gotta change next week because if we go Monday, Tuesday, it's gonna crush them. And then I gotta plan like, what's then next Thursday gonna be? And so it becomes a shell game. Chasing soreness and squats and overheads,
shoulder soreness and leg soreness. And
yeah,
cool.
That's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Open.
Hey, so really though, I was thinking about people make fun of CrossFit
Sure.
as like a cult.
Mhm.
Do you know what the hardest cult to join is?
The hardest cult to join. Tell me, Jack. What's the hardest cult to join?
It's the Diffie cult.
The difficult. that is a tough one. Speaking of cults, and you can call this not. So there's two different schools of thought as to where humankind came from. Well, so
Okay.
sure. So Fiona came up to, this is my weird segue. Segues are weird.
You did really well, but I'm curious. What are the two camps of where humankind came from?
So Fiona came to me the other day and she asked, Daddy, where did humans come from?
Okay.
And I was like, all right, sweetheart. Well, like long time ago, there was an Adam and there was an Eve. And they got together, they had babies, their babies had babies, babies had babies, and here we are today, humankind. And she goes, okay. And then later she goes and asks Megan, and Megan goes, well, Fiona, we were originally monkeys and we evolved over time to become humans. And she goes, huh? And Fiona's like, well, wise beyond her years at this point. Fiona comes back to me and she says,
Father,
Daddy, she goes, Father, please, sir. She says, you lied to me.
oh.
It's like,
I love how she immediately gives Megan the credence of telling the truth.
Just got to get used to it. Lied to me. She said, Mommy said that we came from monkeys. Humans came from monkeys, not Adam and Eve. And I said, oh, no, Fiona, that's where your mother's family came from.
That was a really long way to get there, but I really like that. And it was really well done of the including. Are you going to tell that today, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
In the class. That's a great
I told
one.
it to Megan in front of her grandmother today, so it was beautiful.
How'd that go?
Honestly.
Her
They
grandma's
just shook their head and like, oh,
her grandma's pretty sassy though, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's not high.
Hey man, it's for the pain. It's my glaucoma. Yeah, it's for the pain. I loved your inclusion or the words not happening today. I'm done. That's it.
After you blew up whatever you said about that the athlete, the one that
recalcitrant.
I think you blew your water.
I'm out. Yeah, that was it. I got all my big words out. But your mixing in the Fiona story into the joke was really seamless. Like that was really well done. And I think you should give Fiona a British accent.
Yeah.
Father.
She does. She'll do that. We like to play this game where I don't know where this game came from, but we usually we're asking someone for ice, and then all of a sudden Marshmallow was there from Frozen, the big monster guy, and then we run away and hide. And for whatever reason, it was very I can't. Please, sir, I may have some more.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Not Copperfield, not David Copperfield.
No.
Oh my gosh. Jonah's so disappointed in me right now.
I'm so mad at myself.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Oliver Twist.
There it is. So I'd go, please, sir, I may have some more. And then I'd run away and hide. It's Marshmallow, and I run away and hide. And snap, she totally does it with an accent now.
Oh, nice.
So she'll go, please, sir. I was
May
like,
I have some
you have
more?
a British accent.
All right. It's gratitudes. My gratitudes are our 5 foundation folks. Sharon and Tim Disher. John, Puma, Sean,
Jonathan.
Yeah, I messed up your last name. Sorry, buddy. And Nadia. It was really, really fun to go through. So I mashed Tim and Shelly, took Sharon through hers. I mashed Tim and John together as one, which was fun to do a group, sort of small group again, versus the one-on-one. Sean was like, let's do it. Let's get it in. All of them are now they're coming. They're in it. Like there was no well, maybe I'll do it. Like they're in it. My gratitude is we worked really hard the last 2 or 3 months coming out of COVID of redesigning our intake process and the experience that we wanted new people to have, right? Like we charted it out, we talked about it, we looked at it. I mean, we changed a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like this group is they're seeing it and experiencing it, and their excitement of now kind of like doing it,
Yeah.
for me is like the payoff. That's my gratitude of like, oh, this shit works.
Yeah.
Like if you make people feel welcome and you have a plan and you have a way to do it, not to say that the other foundation's system didn't work. It did. It worked. It wouldn't work now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the groups would have to be too big and it would be too timely and what, you know what I mean? And so it was like, I'm very grateful that we took the time to set that up. And I'm really grateful for how much those 5 individuals this go around have leaned into it. Not to say that the couple of foundations but we were still working through stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was still
relatively new.
Yeah. They were kind of the beta, and they've leaned into it too.
Yeah.
Totally. But this was sort of that like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's alive.
Yeah. And so I'm very happy. And I'm very grateful for how fun and willing those athletes are to be like, I'm in, right? That's hard as a grown up to like show up at a place and make it work.
Yeah. So
thanks, y'all. That's
cool.
pretty damn cool.
Cool. I can't think of what I thought of this yesterday. I can't think of what like spurred it, but I was just like, single moms came to mind when I was thinking of gratitude. And single parents in general, but single moms. So when I think of like Kate in the gym, and I think of Joanne's married now, but she's a single mom for a little while. And I think it prompted it too. I was at gymnastics with Fee one day, and I don't know. I love being the dad that takes like the middle of the day. It's me and a bunch of moms,
right?
Which is like, that's my sweet spot. All right, me and a bunch of moms. Me and moms have always
tread lightly,
clicked.
my friend. Tread lightly.
And so it's just like and so it was me and like 4 moms, and we were all hanging out while they were doing open gym. And I don't remember what prompted it, but this one mom had brought up how she was recently divorced, but she was here with her kid, and like all the stuff that she had to do now as a single mom. I was like, God, I don't know, like I think of what up, MC? All the stuff that she does as a single mom. And I think of like Kate and all the stuff that she has to manage now, like a teenager, like a single mom. And I think of like Megan's mom. I mean, Meg's father passed away when Meg was 15, her sister was 13, and Rudy was like 5. And so like, when I just think about when Fiona was just Fiona and Meg left to go to like a doctor's appointment for like an hour. And then like when she went back to work and it was just me, and I was like, I don't know how single parents do it, but I think each parent has their role. And but there's a connection that mothers have with their kids that I think is just something you can't really explain it. It's just, it is what it is. Like they came out of them, and there's a connection that me as a dad will never have. And it blows my mind that the job that single mothers in particular like can do.
Yeah.
So I don't know what prompted it. I can't remember what it was. Like, it was this
good
conversation. I thought about single moms. I was like, damn, single moms. And I also love moms. So I've always loved moms.
I like that.
So I love my own mom. So anyway,
nice.
That was my thing.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Cool.
All right,
we're good.
Close this out. I don't know. Open. How many? Where are we at? 57, 58,
so
56?
So this comes out. We are 50. We're at 56.
All right.
So 57 was our 2020.
Was it 2020 or 2019?
Well, it was the 2020 Open in 2019. Remember it was.
Yeah. So we had 56 people in that Open.
We had 57.
Holy crap!
So as soon as 57 signs up, I'm gonna be 58. I've been holding off. I was like, all right, 57. I want to be the tiebreaker.
I got you.
I haven't signed up yet. So I'm like, as soon as we hit 57, I'll be 58. All right,
cool. So who do we need to stalk? We'll come up with a list off of.
Yeah, I got to go through it. It's like there's a couple like lingering that like are on the fence. It's like we'll get them.
That's awesome. Nicely done.
So good times.
All right, folks. We are when this comes out, T-minus 6 days to 21.1 and the 21 Open. Now officially sponsored, title sponsor by Noble Shoe and Wear Apparel. Holy crap.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah. We just went high class.
Yeah.
So now all of your CrossFit gear and equipment will
Reebok
will be $150.
See a Reebok.
It's too unfortunate that I don't really like Noble shoes for working out, but I like them for wearing around. But
Yeah.
Working out, they're a little bit too small and tight for me.
Yeah.
So,
but they look darn good.
Yeah. All right, we're being attacked by multiple teenage boys, so
Ah!
time to go. And it was fun.